What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Career Mode. This is episode number 18, and we're starting today's episode off by seeing that Britos is returning from injury, and he says he's okay to play in the next game. Of course, Britos shouldn't really be here. He had a transfer offer from West Brom in the January transfer window, but sadly after his injury, that deal fell through. So I was a bit sad about that as I was trying to shift him on and get him out of the club, to be honest. But still, Britos returning from injury does give us some cover. And we take on QPR for the first game of today's episode here away at Loftus Road for an FA Cup round of 16 tie. Now, a couple of you have been pointing out that this year the FA Cup has the Emirates in front of it. That's because that is the sponsor for this year's FA Cup, so it's going to be referred to as the Emirates FA Cup this year. But of course, we'll still call it the FA Cup just on its own in its traditional merit. Still taking on QPR for the first game of today's episode here, and the first chance would fall to the home side as well. But Aurelio Gomez makes a great stop and turns this header behind for a corner. And in the 39th minute, another good chance for QPR here as Sandra gets on the ball. The shot comes in, but once again, Gomez makes a really good save and turns it behind for a corner. So still 0-0. That was the score at half time. But QPR, the championship side, were playing better than us. We hadn't had a single shot in the first half. They dominated possession as well. We had rested the entire team for this game due to our congested fixture list, but either way, not a good first half. In the second half, 10 minutes after the restart, that header goes just over the bar, but it was still 0-0. And in the 71st minute, another good chance for QPR here. Fouling plays it inside towards Hoylett, the Canadian, who goes for goal and puts it just wide of the post and behind for a goal kick. So it's still 0-0. But a great chance for us to take the lead later on in this game as Obi Olari gets on the ball here and takes it around Yun Suk Young, crosses the ball to the far post, picks out Kennedy, but sadly his chest and scissor kick shot goes harmlessly over the bar and behind for a goal kick. And it was how the game would finish here at Loftus Road. Final score, QPR 0, Watford 0. And, you know, the one thing I didn't want at the end of this game was a replay because of our congested fixture list. And what do we get? It's a replay. I mean, just typical, really, isn't it? I mean, I'm not going to say I'd rather go out or anything, but, you know, I really didn't want a replay at all because right now we've got the Capital One Cup final to come, a couple of big fixtures in the Premier League as well, so many games in quick succession. I really could have done without a replay, but sadly that's exactly what we've got. But either way, at least we're not out of the competition and we keep ourselves in it at least for the time being. And following that, we had some player training and we also get ourselves into our second game of today's episode here, the second of 3 in today's episode against Crystal Palace away at Selhurst Park back in the Premier League. Now, of course, in our last Premier League game, we beat Pardew's former club Newcastle by 3-0. Now we take on his current club away from home in London here at Selhurst Park, hoping to make it 2 wins out of 2 in this game.
The visiting team have been undoubtedly the best defensive team in the division, but that defence will be put to the test here.
Well, they've got some good individuals at the back, and they've also got great understanding across that back line.
And pre-game, Martin Tyler and Alan Smith did discuss our fantastic defensive record this season. So far, we do have the best defensive record in the division. And also as well, guys, how are you liking the sort of merge between myself commentating and show you Martin Tyler and Alan Smith sort of build up to the game, if you will? Started to do that this year as this new feature. How are you guys liking it? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm really enjoying sort of giving you guys a stat before the game if there's something of note. Still taking on Palace for the second game of today's episode. First chance would fall to Palace, and then the 14th minute, we had our first chance of the game. Look at our right back turn on the afterburners here, going down the right hand side, drills in a cross, and Troy Deeney opens the scoring 15 minutes in and makes it Crystal Palace 0, Watford 1. Now, Crystal Palace's left back, I'm not very good at pronouncing his name, but he's not very slow or anything, but our right back is absolutely rapid. Once he gets past him, he was never catching up. He drills in a cross, and last year those triple tap of squares were so effective. This year not as much, but either way, this time we get our first goal through a drill cross, and Troy Deeney taps it in to get his 11th goal of the Premier League this season. So we've been without a goal for a few games now. Troy Deeney does open the scoring here though and make it Crystal Palace 0, Watford 1. Good chance there for Palace again, but in the 36th minute, I think it was James McArthur's shot goes harmlessly over the bar and behind for a goal kick. In the 44th minute, another good chance for us here as Loftus-Cheek finds Bertrand Traore, takes it around his man with the Berber spin, whips it across to the centre, and Troy Deeney, I mean, that is just unreal. What a volley that was by Troy Deeney. I mean, we've scored a couple of really nice goals this season, but that one has got to be up there. You know, that has got to be a contender for goal of the season, surely. Traore with the Berber spin, it crosses the ball into the centre. Yes, it's a mistimed jump by the Palace defender, but a first-time volley by Deeney, who'd been without a goal for a few games. Now he's got 2 in the first half of this one. What a strike that is by the skipper. That is just gorgeous. What a volley. I was a bit disappointed about the celebration, as it seemed a bit sort of robotic, with the sort of the waving of the arms upwards to try and pump the crowd up there to the cameraman. Didn't look very cool, but either way, what a goal. The goal was certainly cool, even the celebration wasn't, and Deeney makes it Crystal Palace 0, Watford 2 with one of the goals of the season. So, I said before, we sold Igalo. Charlie Austin's coming in next season on a free contract, but Deeney this season, that's now his 12th goal in the Premier League, 13 in all competitions. I want to keep playing Deeney because he is doing the job and he is doing it in style. So Crystal Palace 0, Watford 2, and that was also the score at half-time as well. Sadly, I forgot to show the match stat screen, so sorry about that. I completely forgot to record it. That's my fault, but apologies for that regardless. But still, it was Crystal Palace 0, Watford 2, and we were full value for our lead. Palace had a couple of chances, but we were playing much better football. And in the 69th minute, we had a great chance to make it 3-0. Bertrand Traore takes it around the Palace left-back, who was having an absolute nightmare evening. His shot is well saved by Julian Speroni, but it falls to Victory Barber at the far post, and he turns it into the open goal and makes it Palace 0, Watford 3. And how funny is that, man? Seriously, Victory Barbo all season long hadn't scored a single goal, was underperforming, wasn't playing very well, but I kept faith with him, thought he might come good eventually. I was considering taking him out over the past couple episodes, taking out the first team squad, giving Berghaus a start instead, but now he scored 2 goals in 2 games, and he makes it Palace 0, Watford 3. And it was how the game would finish as well at Selhurst Park. Final score 3-0 to Watford. Another really solid win for us. That's now 2 wins in a row in the Premier League with the same scoreline at 3-0 each. We've definitely, this season, we've only lost 3 games in the Premier League. All 3 of those have come away from home, but we've drawn so many games. There have been so many games where I just haven't been able to get the better of my opponents, but in those 2 games, I felt like I was just in so much control over the opponents, over the opposition teams, and I felt like we were full value for those wins as well. And if we keep this up, don't get me wrong, there's still 13 games to go, but right now we're sitting in 5th place. We're only 4 points off 4th place, and I know that getting into the Champions League is, what you consider an unrealistic aim for the first season, but you never know. You never know. There is still a possibility of us doing it. Still, we take on Chelsea for the 3rd and final game of today's episode here. Now, as you saw by the team, I made 11 changes to the first 11 and fielded a weakened side. But how about this for the first highlight of the game? In the 3rd minute, Radamel Falcao must have thought it opened the scoring. I thought it opened the scoring, but Aurelio Gomez pulls off what I believe is the best save I have ever seen on FIFA. How? How did he save that? Look at this from Aurelio Gomez. The goal decision system comes out. That has got to be one of the greatest saves on FIFA, man. This is just incredible. I had to show the replay like 2 or 3 times. Look at this. This is millimetres from crossing the line. This is David Seaman versus Sheffield United in the FA Cup final-esque stuff. That is absolutely extraordinary, man. Seriously. This was Falcao, not Pesky Solido, but either way, look at this from Falcao's header. How did Gomez save that? That is unreal. That has got to be one of the best saves on FIFA, if not the greatest ever save I've seen ever. If you've seen a better save on FIFA, I need you to let me know what it was. I need you to leave me a link to it in the comment section or just on Twitter or something, because that save by Gomez, that was just unbelievable. I can't believe he kept that out. He clawed it off the line, and it was millimetres from crossing it, but he keeps it at Watford 0, Chelsea 0. And at half-time, Chelsea were dominating. It had 6 shots and 5 which on target, including that Falcao attempt in the first couple of minutes, but it was still 0-0. And in the second half here, 7 minutes after the restart, a good chance for Chelsea as Pedro goes down the left-hand side, whips it across to the centre, and a bicycle kick is straight at Gomez, and it is still 0-0. Having a pretty good game, our goalkeeper so far, but it was still goalless. But in the 55th minute, Willian goes down the right-hand side here and plays it inside towards Oscar. It's a great ball inside towards Falcao. He may have been denied from a couple of yards out in the first half, in the first few minutes, but he's not going to be denied this time. The Colombian puts it past Gomez and does make it Watford 0, Chelsea 1. So Falcao with the goal. Disappointed to see Gomez beat because he deserved a clean sheet after the first save in this game on its own. Unbelievable stop, but sadly he can't get to this one, and Falcao does make it Watford 0, Chelsea 1. So great finish by the Colombian there. Some pretty poor defending by me in all honesty, but it was a weaker side, and you can't really be surprised I was under pressure right from the first minute. So Watford 0, Chelsea 1. Another great chance for Chelsea in the 59th minute. Once again, Willian is causing problems down the right-hand side. He cuts inside and goes for goal, but he puts it wide at the post and behind for a goal kick. But this was a game where I had a backup side out there. I just couldn't break down Chelsea. No real surprise, to be honest. One of our final chances and one of our only chances of the game really would fall here. Michael Keane's header goes wide of the post and behind for a goal kick, and it was how the game would finish as well. Final score, Watford 0, Chelsea 1. Gutted for Gomez to not keep a clean sheet after that unbelievable save, but sadly we do lose at Vicarage Road. It's our first home defeat in the Premier League this season, 2nd overall. 5 defeats in all competitions at home and away this season. Very disappointed to lose the game. We did have a backup side side out there. And the reason we played a weaker side in this game, guys, is because we had the Capital One Cup final against Chelsea to come in just a few days. That is the biggest game of the season, and I want to make sure that everyone is fully fit and rested for it. So that's why I decided to rest all the players for this game. Yes, disappointed to lose our home undefeated streak in the Premier League, but either way, the Capital One Cup is the biggest game of the season. I want to make sure everyone is fully fit for it and everyone is raring to go, as that is in the next episode. But thank you very much for watching this episode of Career Mode, guys. I really hope you have enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed today's episode, then please do leave a like, and I will see you for the next episode of Career Mode, which is the Capital One Cup final against Chelsea, very soon.